What's up, guys? I really didn't want to start it out by saying what's up, guys, but I actually don't know how else to start it, and maybe that's how every YouTuber starts their video. Maybe that's why. I don't know. As you can probably tell from the title, this video is going to be telling you tips and tricks and things that you might not know for renting your first property. Before I do start this video, I just want to say that I do work in property, so I'm not just some random that is deciding to make a video about renting a property. Also, I do have a spot on my chin. We're not going to acknowledge it. It's there, you know it's there, I know it's there. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need to do is get financially prepared for renting a property. There used to be a lot of costs involved for tenants. This video is for tenants more than landlords. I might do a second one for landlords. I don't know. I feel like if you're renting a property, you've done your research, but well, actually no, the people are different. You have to get financially prepared. You need to research the area that you're moving to so that you can find out what the general rental is going to be for that area. And then pretty much as a tenant, all you need to pay is the first month's rent and the deposit. Since the tenant fee ban came in 2019, June 2019 I think it was, quick sidebar, if you hear a very shrill beep, that is because my fire alarm's batteries have died, and I, for some reason, have not replaced them. Your deposit is going to be 5 weeks of your rental. So if you search the general rental in the area that you're moving to, search the bedrooms, put in all your specifications when you do put in the search, you'll find your general rental. So if your general rental is 1,300 pounds, dollars, whatever, yen, I don't know, it's 1,300 of whatever. You are going to need to, one second, let me get my calculator because I am bad at maths. Okay, so you're gonna need to get your calculator. If it's 1,3, you're gonna say that's a 7, it's okay. 1,3 times 12, that's gonna give you how much rent you're gonna be paying per year. If you then divide that by 365 days, that's gonna give you how much rent you pay per day. This is why I spend time in my house, by the way. This is why. Because I am paying 43 pounds or whatever a day, and if I go out for the whole day, I've basically wasted 43 pounds, so in my head, it makes a lot of sense to stay at home. Moving forward, that's per day. Then you're gonna times that by 7, and that's your rental per week. Then obviously times that by 5 weeks, and that would be your deposit. So you would need to save that deposit as well as the first month's rent, which sucks. I'm gonna be honest with you, deposits suck, especially because when you leave a property, you can't really transfer your deposit to a new property just because you can only get your deposit after you've left. So we legally can only release the deposit to you once you've handed over keys, the checkout report's been done, and the landlord's basically said, okay, the property's okay, we're happy to give you back your deposit. This sucks. Very hardcore. But unfortunately that's how it is. So every time you move into a place, leave the place, and then move into a new place, you are going to unfortunately have to save a whole new deposit. But you get it back. So the tenant fee ban came in, and it basically says that tenants don't have to pay for admin fees, tenancy fees, agency fees. They literally only pay that unless it's agreed otherwise with the landlord and the tenant. But why would you do that? The next thing I'm going to talk about is break clauses. So, break clauses are necessary. You should always have a break clause if you can, because they're just wise. They basically say that if you have a 1-year tenancy and you decide to take a 6-month break clause, it means that at 6 months you can decide to leave the property, and that is not a my work's texting me like they actually want me to work. It's my lunch break. Anyway, break clauses. Break clauses, basically, that's what it does. It lets you break the contract before the tenancy term, and it's totally legal, and you're allowed to do it. The thing is, both the landlord and the tenant are allowed to do it, so it's usually mutual. And that means that if the landlord doesn't really like you as a tenant, he can also serve break notice. Break notice is usually served 2 months before the break date. So if you want to move out at 6 months, at 4 months, you'll need to serve notice. But you can give 2 months notice any point from 4 months until the end of your tenancy. You can give 2 months notice, and that's absolutely fine. One thing to remember also is that agents will always push for the longest tenancy term. So they'll always say, oh, you know, this property, the landlord's really only looking for a 2-year lease, so I don't know if he would take anything less than 2 years. That's bull. Come here. That's bull. The landlord will take whatever he can get, especially if it is in season. So in summer, yeah, you might have to settle for 2 years because the landlord has more options. In winter time, at least in London, people are not renting, so the landlords are desperate for tenants. So that's also something to note. I'm sorry, these are very mixed and jumbled, but that's another thing to note. In winter times, you can negotiate a lot more because they're a lot more desperate to find someone, whereas in summer, it's not as slim picking. You know, if you don't want a 2-year, remember that you are always allowed to negotiate as well. I think people fall into the trap of thinking, oh my god, but this is someone's home and they're letting me live there, and like, they're so nice to rent it to me. I hope they pick me. I just want to be as amicable and agreeable as possible. No, that's bad energy. That's not the energy we're going for 2020, okay? 2020's got enough of that energy. We're looking for some good, positive, self-assured energy. I don't have it yet, but we don't need to talk about that. So yes, if you don't agree with something that the landlord or the agent is trying to push, just say it, because at the end of the day, they need you sometimes more than you need them. So the landlord's looking for a tenant, and guess what? If they can't find anyone else that wants to take the place, you're all they have. So they don't really have a choice. And sometimes they'll soften it. If you seem like you don't want a 2-year term, they'll go, oh, well, I could ask and see if maybe the landlord would want a break clause. And then they'll go back, and in reality, the landlord would probably take a year's break clause, because the term of the tenancy depends how much commission they get. So if the break clause is at a year, they only get a year's commission up front. Whereas if the break clause is at 18 months, they get 6 months extra commission, which a girl wants to catch the bag. So I mean, yes, she's gonna try. You can't blame them for trying. This is their money, this is their livelihood, this is how they live. So you can't blame them for trying. But if they come back and say 18-month break clause, that's all he'll take, say no, I want a year. And then, yeah, look, you take this advice, you take this advice at your own discretion, okay? I'm telling you what I've learned. I don't want to be sued, because, I mean, I probably could be sued because I really don't have anything for you to take, but I would prefer not to be sued because she does not look good in a suit, so I can't be going to court. This is some advice. You could take it, you could not take it. That's all I'm saying. Just a little disclosure. I should have said that at the beginning. Remember that you are helping them out as well. You're paying this person's mortgage, so you are allowed to make demands as well. You are allowed to negotiate as well. And if you don't agree with something, you are allowed to say that. The next thing is read the contract. I know it seems very easy to just skim through it and be like, oh, if I don't sign it, I have to sign it anyway, because if I don't sign it, I'm not going to get the place, so I might as well just sign it. There's no point in reading it. I have thought that before as well, so that's why that's literally what I've said to people before I worked in property. It's not true, okay? You do not have to sign it. If I'm honest, the bulk part of the contract, where it's like clause 2.7.3.15678.9, that is usually pretty box standard. It's stuff like fixtures and fittings, fair wear and tear on the property. It's pretty box standard. It's like how much rent you're going to be paying, how much the deposit is, who you're going to be paying it to, that kind of stuff. It's pretty box standard. I would suggest that you read it, but it's not as important. The important part is where it says additional tenancy conditions. It could be worded differently. It could be in a different area. My contracts all have them at the very bottom, very last page. The 7th clause, the final clause, and then they have sub clauses. And those are the things that you and the landlord have agreed together. This will be things like a break clause, things like the tenant needs to get the property professionally cleaned. Because legally now, because of the tenant fee ban, you do not have to professionally clean the property unless it's agreed between you and your landlord. So, but that's where all the clauses are going to be that you really need to pay attention to, because that's going to be stuff that he has asked the agents to put in the contract, that you have asked the agents to put in the contract. Pay attention to the wording as well. Next thing is what to look out for on viewings. This is important. Yes, obviously you want to make sure the property looks how you want it to look. Look behind doors and on the ceilings, on the walls, for mold and damp. These are the most common problems when it comes to tenants moving into properties. A lot of the time the landlord doesn't disclose that they have mold or damp. Sometimes the agent knows and they won't tell you either. Sometimes the agent has no idea. Legally now, they have to tell you. If you ask, does the property have mold? They have to tell you, yes. Yes, it has a bit of mold. Okay, I'm sorry, it has a touch of mold. You can kind of see if there's mold. Most of the time, it's pretty gross looking, a bit furry, kind of green, like if Shrek was a fruit. Also, if they've cleaned it off, you can touch the walls and you can feel mold. You can feel it's like damp almost. Another thing is, if you move in and after you've moved in find out that there is mold, tell your landlord. They have to sort this out. We all read about the lady whose hair fell out, and I don't know about you, but I have a weird shaped head, man. Okay, there's bumps where there's not supposed to be bumps. I mean, there's like a weird pointy thing at the back here. I don't know what's going on. It's very ugly, so I cannot lose my hair, okay? If I lose my hair, it's over for me. Because no one is loving me bald. Not even my mother would love me bald. Anyway, they legally have to fix it if you have mold. Also, another thing is that you do not pay for any of this. Please remember that. Someone might try to get a coin out of you. Yes, they might try to be like, you have to pay half or whatever. No, you don't. It's their property. They have to fix the problems with it, okay? If it didn't occur due to your negligence, if it didn't occur, do you know what? If it didn't happen due to you neglecting the property, then you don't have to pay for it. It's all the cost of the landlord. Also, a good thing to do is turn your cell phone on, go onto Instagram, send someone a text, do something that's going to require service, because then you can check what the service is like in the property. Most properties are going to have a dead spot, a spot that just doesn't connect as well as others. It's usually the bathroom. You need to check if the property is completely a dead zone, because that has happened many times before, and there's really nothing you can do, because there won't be a clause in your contract that says, if I can't connect to Instagram to post my selfies, then I'm moving out of the property. That clause doesn't exist. I mean, you could technically ask for it, but that would be such a weird clause to write. I kind of want to write it now. Another thing is, you can ask if anything violent has happened in the property. If anyone's been murdered, if you're like a conspiracy nut or an avid serial killer avoider, such as myself, you can ask, has anyone died? Like, has anyone been like, don't ask it like that, because they'll think that you are a serial killer. But just ask, just be like, has anyone been murdered in here? Can I know? If you don't want to be in a property that has that bad juju, you can ask and they have to tell you. So yeah, ask if you want to. I would. After moving in, make sure that you receive from the landlord a check-in report and inventory. Or the agent. This is going to be a report that basically states everything that is wrong with the property. Any marks on the walls, any holes, any defects, anything, it's going to note it in that report. This is very important, okay? Because this report protects you with your deposit at the end of the tenancy. Another thing is, read this report and cross-check it with the entire property, because you might notice something that they haven't noted in the report, and you only have 7 days to get back to them and email them a list of all the defects, bullet point them an email with everything that's not in the report that you need to be in the report, with pictures as proof, and then you're good. This is so that at the end of the tenancy, the landlord can't say, oh, well, there's this mark on the wall, so I need to repaint, so I need to take this off your deposit. You can basically say, no, in the check-in report, I sent an email with pictures and I noted it, so you can't take that money. Also, keep all your email receipts, because you never know, they could come back to you and say, oh, well, you didn't say that, we didn't add it because you didn't tell us. You can show them the email as proof. Another thing is, if you don't get sent a check-in report, this is not that big of a problem for you, friend. If you don't have a check-in report, the landlord basically at the end of the tenancy cannot prove that anything was done to the property, because they don't have a report to show the condition it was in when you moved in. So they really have no leg to stand on when it comes to deposit if they want to deduct anything. Even if you have done something to the property, they can't really deduct anything because there was no check and report. We actually send them a letter telling them, you don't want to do a check and report, that's absolutely fine, but if you don't, please note that you have no leg to stand on at the end of the tenancy and you can't deduct anything from the deposit, essentially. And most people don't know this because when people email you at the end of a tenancy and say, hey, we need to deduct this from your deposit, a lot of people, especially if you're young, just kind of go, oh, okay, I need the deposit back, so just deduct it, whatever. Don't do that, because if you are right and if you don't believe that this needs to be deducted, then you shouldn't have to pay for that money. Who doesn't want that? Come on, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to be able to be like, well, there's a mark on the wall. Oh my god, there's actually a mark on the wall. Who doesn't want to be like, it doesn't matter. I mean, you don't want to trash a place, don't be a jerk, okay? So even if you do have a check and report, you can dispute it. But if in your contract it says the tenant needs to clean the carpet at the end of the tenancy and they are asking for the money so they can book the carpet clean for you, you can't really say anything. You have to do it because it's in your contract, you agree to it. It's just common sense. Okay, I think that's enough information for the moment. I don't want to overload people. If you want more tips, get yourself a man. I'm just kidding. I hope that that was helpful to you. I hope that this maybe makes you feel more prepared to move into a property, especially if it is your first time. It can be quite daunting. So I hope that this has helped in some way. Hit the subscribe button, like if you want to, comment if you have any other videos that you want to watch, see, I will do them. Any other tips that anyone else has, also please comment them for people so that they have extra help, because there's obviously a few things that I haven't covered. Have a good day, have a good night, have a good evening, afternoon. I'll see you next time.